Okay. Got it. And record. Okay, we're here with our commission shift team. It is March 19th. We just finished our Railroad Commission open meeting, and this is our state oil and gas agency. And at Commission Shift, we are building public support to transform our oil and gas state agency and see better decisions and policies moving forward that impact all Texans. So we've got a great crew here, and I want to talk about the open meeting today and all the eventful things that happened and sort of hear perspectives from folks who attended. We had sort of a new or a different approach to the open meeting this time around. So if folks want to just go around and introduce themselves, and then we can get things started with hearing from you guys about the open meeting. Who should kick us off? Virginia, would you start introductions?
Yes, I'll kick us off. I'm Virginia Palacios, Executive Director of Commission Shift, and I'm here with...
Hi, I'm Minna. I'm the Digital Communications Associate at Commission Shift.
And I'll pass it to...
I'm Marte Valadez. I am the Organizing Director at Commission Shift. Great to be here with everybody and to be taking collective action for the first time with everyone. Oh, we're doing a side view. Awesome. And then I'll pass it over to Dr. Luis.
Did you say
Hi,
Lucas?
my name is Dr. Maria Reyes, and I'm just here with the team. Julie?
Hi, I'm here too.
Ty?
Hi, Tom Marie, Development Director of Commission Shift.
I'm Camille Cook with Public Citizen based here in Austin.
How?
Kennedy?
Oh, I'm LCJ Lucas.
Lucas, finally met in person.
Awesome. So that's the folks that were at the public meeting for the most part. There may have been a couple more. And then we have some more members here virtually that are joining. And yeah, maybe if we could just sort of hear a recap of what happened today, why were so many people there? Normally we don't have a ton of attendance outside of like Railroad Commission staff at these meetings. So maybe if one of the members from the group could help us understand that.
Hey folks, so it was really exciting to be here in person versus remote, where it feels a little bit more distance to the discourse and the public engagement opportunities. We know that like this is a privilege to be able to get out here if you're from anywhere across outside of Austin, outside of the state. So I think like the ability to come together and be in relation and have conversation and take up space as organizers and as a group of public constituents really created a different dynamic in the room. It was really interesting to observe the dynamics of like the commissioners, the folks representing oil and gas in the room, the dynamics of the staff, the state trooper. So it was a really interesting observation of the power that we occupied and also the way in which we were observed and also engaged and or lack of engagement as we noticed throughout the meeting. But I think generally for organizing energy and the work we want to do throughout the year, this is like a really great start to holding them to a standard of respect and dignity and holding up democracy when it comes to
I have a little bit of a cutout. It might just be on my end. Is it just me?
Too, or anyone else wants to add something from the delegation?
Marta, thank you. I heard there was a little bit of a cutout at the end, but it was interesting to hear you say sort of what it felt like being in the space and how you were engaged with or not engaged with. And so folks that saw our Twitter may have seen that we attempted a flower delivery today. We gathered over 150 signers to send a Valentine to the Railroad Commission since they canceled their February 14th meeting. This was our chance to show up and show how many people want that engagement from the Railroad Commission, want to see them be proactive and be accountable to these really important decisions that they're making. So we gathered those Valentines, we tied them to the stems of over 150 flowers. And what happened with the flowers? They didn't want to take them during the public input section of the meeting. So where did they go? What happened there?
Okay, first I wanted to talk about what happened before the meeting even started. The Railroad Commission's general counsel came up and tapped me to come talk to him. And he said, we just need to let you know that it's important for us to follow all of the Open Meeting Act rules and that we have to follow these rules. I was like, you know, we're fine. We're a peaceful group here. And he was like, I know, but we have to follow the rules. And so I was like, okay, what are you expecting? He was like, we just need to follow the Open Meeting Act. He wouldn't be specific, but I think they were a little intimidated to have like 10 people there wearing red shirts with flowers, clearly doing something. But you know, I think we showed them they had nothing to worry about really. But yeah, you know, as we were about to take up the flowers, Commissioner Craddock said, hey, you're not allowed to approach the dais, but you can leave the flowers in the back of the room. So, you know, we did that. I think at the end of the day, we do want them to know that they have nothing to be afraid of. And that they can trust us to, you know, maintain decorum and like present ourselves in a way where we're willing to engage with them in a peaceful manner. So, but it's kind of funny to be afraid of flowers.
Yeah, I mean, we saw some pictures before you guys went into the building and the flowers looked awesome. Don't know why that was intimidating, but I'm glad that you guys were able to do that handoff. There was a long exchange as well during that public input section. I want to give kudos to everyone here for your comments. Everyone just delivered awesome public input. And, you know, we can kind of recap maybe some of the points that you guys made, but I also want to sort of acknowledge the fact that how did you guys feel it went? Did you feel listened to, respected? Like, how did that go for you guys, sitting where you are?
Well, we are endless hopeful people, right? And at the beginning, they kind of drew us in by Commissioner Christian saying we do need to rethink how we are approaching a public engagement. But then his actions after the fact did not speak to that. And I'm not sure he's aware himself of the fact that, you know, he was what young people nowadays call mansplaining. He was talking to us like children. And I think that's something that we kind of were trying to make them aware of, right? We want to be partners with you. We want government to stop thinking of citizens in Texas as children. And the best way to do that is to have equal conversation, right? We're equals. We are not there to be lectured at. And so that was disheartening, but there were a lot of hopeful moments that he invited us to his office. We're going to take him up on that offer and to discuss and debate these issues that he, you know, was open to discuss. It's very odd because it goes back to this one-way conversation where he says, I'm going to tell you these facts and correct me if you're wrong, but the process itself of that meeting shuts you down and it doesn't allow for that debate to take place live, right? Yeah. And unfortunately, it feels like they use that pulpit for political and ideological reasons instead of a conversation. But we really feel, aside from how they reacted, which can be a little bit intimidated for the citizen, you know, they had a state trooper in the room who actually moved very fast forward into the front when we were trying to give them flowers. We had a lot of people approaching us and reminding us, you have to behave. That was very odd. We tend to follow the rules because we want to be heard. And so, but aside from all of that, I think they accepted the flowers, we delivered the messages, and that's what we came to do. So, yeah.
I think, you know, I gave the last public input, and I told a story about my dad's last 3 months of his life. And you know, we were in a really tough spot, my brothers and I, because my dad had ended up in Austin when he had a heart attack, and he lived on the ranch. Like he was 4 hours away from home when that happened, and we had to make this decision about taking him back to the ranch. And something that weighed on me at that point in my life was him being exposed to the air pollution that we have in our region because of oil and gas development. And I wanted to tell these stories to the commission about my life and the things that have been I guess like hard and difficult in my life, but also about the things that I love, because, you know, to kind of keep with the theme of Valentine's Day and relationships, it's important for us to see each other as people, to have intimacy, to have understanding with one another. And I think that the reaction that we saw from them created an opening. And I do feel that even though, you know, even though there is this structure that Maria was talking about, where we get a lot of remarks from Commissioner Christian that we are not allowed to respond to at the end of the open meeting, he said things that led me to believe that he is willing to be critiqued and proven wrong, and he's willing to have a conversation. He said it multiple times, prove me wrong, and we will. We'll go talk to him and we'll prove him wrong.
Yeah.
But we also, you know, got an acknowledgement from Commissioner Wright, you know, and he said, like, these are the things that I'm interested in and that I would like to talk to you about. You know, he talked about the potential tax credits for orphan wells. And so I think there's a door that is open now, and that might not have been open if we didn't approach them in this way. And so I really appreciate Marte's idea to do this Valentine's Day action and to come at them with some love and some positivity and a positive message.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, I think it was really not surprising, disappointing, but maybe not surprising how we were coming from a place of a little bit more emotion, but obviously we knew what we were talking about. We were coming at this from a place of love. It was themed around Valentine's Day. We're coming at this because we're concerned citizens that want to make the state better. And the response was, here are a bunch of facts, here are a bunch of numbers, and numbers with no citations at that. And the prompt to, you know, tell me if I'm wrong. And then at one point, he asked a yes or no question, am I wrong? We said yes. And we were basically immediately told, don't say anything. We're asking the staff. So that, again, it's not surprising necessarily. It just was a little bit disappointing that they had their guard up so strongly, because we were obviously coming at them from, we love our state. We want it to be better. We know what we're talking about, but we also have a personal connection to the land, to our communities. And the response was a bunch of statistics that, as a communicator, I would be very interested in citations. So, yeah.
So fact checks coming, opportunities are being identified, and we keep plugging along and making progress here. I'm just really proud of you guys. So there is also a lot of back and forth in that tension that I feel like also Commissioner Christian put words in your all's mouths that you didn't say, and was sort of having a fake argument that was like not even being brought to him. It was like, he's not responding to you guys. He's like inventing points and responding to those points. So there was inaccuracies in a lot of ways happening, and a bit of misconnections and missing each other. But to Virginia's point, like, opportunities, the door is opening, and we'll just keep, you know, making we will keep engaging, right, in the spirit of love and in the spirit of truth. But I wonder if we can connect the dots to, I know Paige is here in Houston. You are plugged into a lot of the work that's happening in advocacy with environmental issues. Can we maybe set some of the record straight now, or connect the dots to like why the state oil and gas agency needs this kind of scrutiny? And what that could look like here in Texas. It's a broad question, but I kind of want to just hear your input.
Thank you for that broad question. I did watch the meeting. I thought the testimony was great. Y'all did an excellent job of bringing a very calm demeanor and important message. And the response from the commissioners, Christian clapback is what I like to call it, because it's very consistent now at this point. And I'd be happy to call him Honorable Mr. Dummy as per his recommendation. The other one, Commissioner Wright, I thought it was interesting when he said, "Thank you all for changing your tone and coming to me and being reasonable. Here's my priority. I need you to start lobbying for," or that's what I heard, right? Not we've been a party to this toxicity, we've been acting wrong. It's you all are now coming with us, coming in a pot. So I don't think it was an entirely positive interaction. But I do appreciate the response. SJ, to your point about why do we need a stronger regulatory agency or more oversight, I think the fact that they had over, what was it, 700, 900 items on the agenda, and they just adopted like 600 at a time and 300 at a time. One of them in particular, these enforcement orders, was 684 items. That's enforcement on violations. That means in the last month, or since they met last, there have been 684 violations that they're enforcing. That doesn't even count the ones they're not enforcing, right? And they just gloss right over that. That's one thing. Secondly, there were a couple of items in the part above that, the consent agenda, which just means all is well and good, everybody's consenting to this. And some of them were about sour gas and acid gas, hydrogen sulfide transport and disposal, which when we tried to do our due diligence and research for this meeting, we were unable to find information about in the Railroad Commission's database. So there's still a huge lack of transparency when it comes to the public health and safety of people who live in oil and gas regions. And that's
Did Paige freeze for you guys or just me? Okay. We lost Paige. Hopefully we'll get Paige back. But I appreciate just that breakdown of some of the agenda items that were just quickly passed, and the stakes of those agenda items and who they impact. Nowhere in our concern about the Railroad Commission's oversight are we saying shut it down, which I do want to just flag as, I think what Wayne Christian hears, even though no one's saying it. We're saying, enforce these rules and make them stronger, or, enforce the rules you do have. So Paige, thank you. You froze there at the end. Is there anything at the end of what you're saying that you want to kind of come back to?
no, I just said that was my big takeaway. Thanks.
Gotcha. And I want to invite folks here, like if there's anything that you want to say that you weren't able to say in the open meeting, this is a good place. I think you can say it now. What do you want to see the Railroad Commission being held accountable on? Feel free to use the chat to sort of use the raise hand or chat, and then we can hear from you. In the meantime, perhaps Marte, you can take us through some of the things that we've identified at the Railroad Commission that they could do better when it comes to public engagement.
Yeah, I mean, I think they really Can you hear me okay? Because it's saying I have internet connection unstable. Okay. Yeah, I think there's a lot of ideas that we can generate. And I think it did open, like Virginia is saying, like it did open up a door to say, like, maybe we should be doing something differently. That is like blatant and obvious, right? It is only when community and the public hold oversight and accountability to the agencies and the representatives of these agencies to put them to work, to task, that they actually follow through. And so like there is an opportunity for us to say like tons of ideas, and ideas like that we generate that collectively, right? I mean, there's the basics like making sure that there's like we're aligned with making sure that there's accessibility in all the forms, right? And that I think Jose could speak to this and has spoken to this about the Title VI and like making sure that they are in line and there aren't any legal violations that are happening when it comes to making sure there's at least a bare minimum to make sure people can comprehend, can access these meetings, and can engage in these meetings. Like my dream would be for, you say you care about public comment, right? These reps say they want to hear from the public. Well, not everyone can get to Austin. And there are, like we said, time and time again, like pandemic has shown us that there's a lot of things we could be doing remote for them to actually be receiving, receiving true public comment. 3 minutes isn't sufficient, right? Like what are the other forms of public engagement and the spaces that they should be, as representatives that are elected by the people of Texas, that they should be doing to hear the like everyday Texan, from west to east to north to south of Texas, right? And so I think like, what are they doing enough? What can we make sure that we can push? How much can we expect of them to actually get out into these communities that are impacted, right? And that they can be sourcing all these little facts and supposed truths and without any true sources. But we know that like people's lived experiences, people's visible like experiences of what they're seeing and the way that they're impacted on the day-to-day, that's the most solid evidence we have that they should be like actually considering. And that comes in the form of public comment and public engagement.
Awesome. Thank you. Is there anything else, any like last thoughts? Or Julie, I see you came off mute.
So you brought up a good point, Marte. So I think there are opportunities to hear us besides just these meetings, because you can email them, you can do things like that. But but actions speak louder than words. So if you never change your actions to respond to whatever the concerns are, then that really doesn't say that you're listening. And so that is something that I picked up on and thought about. So thought I'd jump in on that one.
I have Lucas here, who is an awesome supporter of Commission Shift and spoke today, and he actually wants to take a moment to just share a little bit more beyond his awesome 3 minutes that he shared from his personal and political perspective. So I want to make space for him to kind of give any more comment or reaction.
Same as Stout. Thank you for editing, helping me out, first of all. The thing that I came away with was the fact that I'm kind of a degree on the Open Meetings Act. I understand the 3 minutes. I'd like to see them perform and entertain the audience within 3 minutes. And I'd like to see them stumble and, be searching and mumbling and looking for words. But the idea is, when I read my statement, I was doing my best to enunciate, because I do have some problems that some of the ladies know. And the idea is, I wanted to make it seem like I was interacting a conversation, and I was doing it slow and steady, but I could sense that they had this perception already. They had their minds made up. That's the sense getting.
All right, I think we had Wi-Fi cut out again. Lucas, can you hear us?
Can you use Virginia's computer or video?
Why don't you use mine?
It's
Oh,
not frozen on Virginia's
There
side.
she's on.
There it goes.
Okay.
Are we back on? And as I was saying, she's got the power to interact with the audience and say, would you elaborate, expound on what you're saying? See, because the gentleman that, the commissioner that spoke, he was very offensive on the offense, and he accused us of saying that we wanted to shut down the oil industry. That was not the matter. In my section, this unit was safety and environmental concerns, health. And the idiosyncrasy here behind all of this is what's more important, your health or money? And this guy was just promoting money.
Give it a second.
Are they frozen again?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Maybe it's my my.
Yeah, it's still frozen. Maybe if we switch to the other computer.
Yeah, here, just use mine.
Yeah, mine just cut out completely. Here, do you wanna, do
The El Paso mode.
you want us to pass it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. I just threw it on the side right there. I'm gonna get out of here, computer.
Okay, where did I leave off that you last meeting?
Valuing money over.
Yeah, and that's the issue. I keep asking, what is more important to you? The money issue or your health? I mean, nobody wants to die. And it's like, that I mentioned that would you drink out of a pond water? Not in today's day and age, because it's all polluted. You go, I don't know which part of the state you're from, but where I'm from, and I think San Antonio must also have this problem. If you go travel through the neighborhoods, the shingles, if you notice on the shingles, they're all jet black from the soot. I live in Corpus Christi. There's a bunch of refineries and there's a bunch of problems. Now they're dealing with the desal plant, and it's a hassle. But they don't stop and evaluate.
Yep.
And the biggest thing, as you know, is input. They have to have input from the people that elect them.
True input.
And
yeah.
it's one of these numbers that my example is, don't do as I do as I say.
Mhm.
And the money's so good. Wait, the biggest factor, and I'm gonna get a little political, why do people run for re-election? Stop and think. They want to continue milking the system. You got guys that are 100 years old in positions. Hey, why do they keep running for re-election? They want to milk the system further. Am I right?
And I think maybe when we get to it, I don't know if we're gonna come back to the organizing aspect, but I have some comments on that. So I see Paige's hand is up as well.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think that's a really, it's this argument that we're trying to shut down oil and gas, that if we have a clean environment, we can't have any oil and gas, that we're gonna close 10,000 producing wells and it's going to be devastating to our state budget. We won't be able to fund education. Like, it's this very extreme end of things, which is not what we're advocating for at all. Nobody at Commission Shift wants to shut down oil and gas. We want to plug orphan wells. We want to protect public health, right? And pitting us as these extremists, right, that are like trying to, destroy the state is really the tactic or the vibe that I'm hearing from Commissioner Christian every time he opens his mouth. And so I really just hope that the approach that we brought today could help to change that. Anyway, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to offer a little fact check, that 10,000 wells would close. There's only about 67,000 actively producing oil and gas wells in Texas that are not marginal. I forget how many marginal wells there are, but that 10,000 is going to be some portion of marginal wells. These are wells that in 2017 would have been considered inactive anyway, but the state law changed the definition of how much a well has to produce to be considered active to lower that threshold and allow operators to delay plugging wells even longer. And so the idea that we're going to be missing out on economic opportunities or funding schools because some of these like barely producing wells end up getting shut down is simply not true. And that's worth noting, you know. I think the other kind of like fact check that I want to give right here is they had their general counsel coming up and saying that they have no responsibility over these P13 wells that are causing Beamer Lake and some of the other disaster sites out in West Texas. And I just don't know how they get there. I mean, if you look at state law and the definition of an orphaned well in state law, these wells meet every single definition of an orphaned well. And so it really feels like a stretch to me that they're getting out there and they're trying to say that state law is something different than what's written in the law. And they even tried to say that there was this bill passed last session that clearly puts those wells under the jurisdiction of the TCEQ. And P13 wells is nowhere in that law that they're referencing. Wells that were permitted by the Railroad Commission as oil and gas wells is not mentioned anywhere in that bill. And so I really think that they're off base, even from a legal standpoint, when they're talking about these major disaster sites and who has responsibility to clean them up.
Thanks, Virginia. Yeah, I think those are two really good examples of just blatantly, in fact, non-factual comments that they made. I also know we don't have a ton of time left, but I do want to talk about next steps a bit. I think Marte, you're kind of going in that direction. Like, what can we start talking and thinking about? The next open meeting is April 24th. They happen roughly once a month, but as we have learned, we can't predict them reliably because they don't have to give much advance notice for cancellations. So, no, you know, with that in mind, what are we thinking?
Yeah, I mean, this was like we recapped today, right? Like the engagement throughout the state to get like a delegation there today is huge. And we only build more engagement and more capacity as we go along. I mean, thinking creatively, like what I was gonna get at is like the rules that they set in place, right? Like we have to question, is the table that is governing actually co-governing for the people and with the people, right? And so like thinking about the ways that we govern our own spaces and create organizing strategies in our communities, right? And then bring that back into a like statewide strategy is really where we're going to be going next. And so like following up and sharing like the report back and what happened and talking with your neighbors, the basics of like sharing what's going on with the Railroad Commission is gonna, the more consciousness we can raise within our networks, the stronger we're gonna get to get more involvement, more participation, and more capacity as a base across the state, right? And so this is the opportunity for us to say, where do we go from here? Where are we going to plan next? Are we going to plan a town hall? Are we going to plan a community meeting? Are we going to have a block gathering and like a potluck and start talking about what's happening? These are the ideas we need to start generating from the base, the grassroots stuff that's going to build the consciousness, the facts that are actually happening in the community, the stories we need to collect to push them to really challenge their false narratives that they're bringing to and have the upper hand when they get the last word, because the rules do not allow us to actually counter them and check them on their falsehoods.
Here. Folks, thank you for joining this. Is there any other last thoughts, reflections, questions?
I think we have one last thought from Julie. Just a second.
Okay, so I was thinking about how you were just speaking of facts, and they're working from different sets of facts. They truly believe their numbers, and we will do our best to educate them as to a different set of facts that is based on science. And that, I think that's kind of where I wanted to go. I think there's many people that believe, and they're working from something that, you know, is in their heart. And so I don't think they're bad people necessarily. It's just we have to teach them. Yeah, their perspective is different. They have to learn what we see on the ground, and
Yeah,
that's what I have to say. Yeah.
yeah, and that's why it's so important for the public to come out and share our perspectives so that we can provide new information that they haven't had already.
Thank you. Alyssa, I saw your hand raised. Do we still have Alyssa?
Yes. Hey y'all. I am so sad that I couldn't be there. I think y'all did a wonderful job. I have a question, I guess, for Paige and our organizing strategy team. But as we know, like there's a big, meeting down in Houston this week, Zero Week. And I know the two things aren't directly like easily related. But it is a big show of force of industry, right? Like going into the energy capital of Texas and having this big conversation about energy and stuff like that without really incorporating the public. Like it's an industry back scratch, right? So I just kind of want some insight from Paige, because I know she's out on the ground in Houston and she's going to give a talk from that side of things and how it connects to the Railroad Commission.
Yeah, actually, I spoke last night. So, Sarah Week is what you're talking about. They're having at the George R. Brown Convention Center in Houston right now, and tickets are about $10,000 to get in. There's a couple of activists who have been able to get in the past, but this year, were purchased tickets and then had the tickets on, refunded. I think it was Yvette Ariano from Fenceline Watch and John Beard from Port Arthur Community Action Network were denied entry, but that's just sort of like the first thing. There was like a small counter protest yesterday that was really based in climate solutions for the people, right? And I think this sort of like false dichotomy of like that we're being presented like hydrogen and carbon capture are the only way that we're going to save ourselves from the climate crisis. All of a sudden, we're hearing that from the oil and gas industry. And that's not true. Environmentalists have been saying for a long time that energy efficiency and nature-based solutions, renewables, etc., are the way to go, right? And so we're not being invited to the conversation. We're not being invited to any of the decision-making tables. But they're also acknowledging in there, from what I heard, the big revelation from Sarah Week is that climate change is happening, and what are we going to do about it? Because it's a liability and it's a risk to industry, right? That are dealing with eroding shorelines and droughts, more extreme weather events that are impacting infrastructure, water scarcity, etc. Right? There's a produced water disposal crisis coexisting with most extreme drought and wildfires, and so that's going to cause a resource challenge. So there's a lot going on, and it's hard to wrap up, but I think we're going to keep looking to the news and see what comes out of those, and hopefully we'll post some more about it next week on our blog.
Thank you. So like I said, the next Railroad Commission open meeting is April 24th. So we'll definitely be back. You'll hear from us throughout. We always try to post resources on our social channels at Commission Shift. Our website is commissionshift.org, and we'll be covering that open meeting as well, live tweeting, and encouraging folks to sign up, participate, and make a public comment. So thanks again, everyone, for the work today. And we got one more thing.
One more thing. I just wanted to make sure that we said I was tapping Virginia to say like this was a team effort. Like we did this collectively, and it was behind the scenes labor of doing concentrated organizing tactics around making phone calls, asking people to send in their Valentines, assembling, like coordinating. So I just want to like applaud all of us collectively at Commission Shift. And I don't mean no staff, I mean the whole network, because it's not one person, and it should never be one person. And like, I'm very proud to be part of this network with you all and be able to offer the skills and complement the skills that everybody on our team has. So that's just what I wanted to say. And I'm sending a lot of love, even though we're not all together. But a lot of us are here today, and we will be together. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, we did do a lot of work together, and the people that signed Valentine's too, that showed up in that way, we're grateful for. And it was, you know, really awesome to build our network and start those connections that we can always keep building. So thank you. All right, everyone. See you next time, and travel safe if you're leaving Austin today. And yeah, keep following us at commissionshift.org. Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye y'all.